Hello everyone! Tina here as always. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another spooky season speed build. Today, as always, we are in The Sims 4. Dodoy. And I am building on the 64 by 64 Hound's Head lot in Brindleton Bay. Just bulldozed what was there. I didn't need it. And this build has a very sad story behind it. I was inspired by a very sad song. It's like the saddest song. It's gonna be really rough. I'm going to tell you the story of the song when we get to the interior, and I'm gonna try to do it without crying. And I don't know if I'm gonna succeed, so stay tuned for that. But let me tell you a little bit about this build before we get into all of that. Like I said, this is a lighthouse, and I imagine that it was abandoned and it's been forgotten for a really long time. I do spend quite a bit of time working on the exterior because I wanted to like set the stage of how the background and everything should look. So like the exterior isn't as important, like the area around it isn't as important where I'm placing all of these rocks. It's literally just like staging, because I wanted it to look like this lighthouse was on the edge of a bunch of cliffs and everything. So I did make it so a sim can get down there. It just doesn't look as pretty if you look at it from like the front door looking towards the front of the lot. But the things we do for the perfect screenshots. The things we do. I don't know. I'm in like a really weird mood today. I was like, I've got specific things that have to get done. I've got homework and I've got cleaning because I'm recording this on a Wednesday and I normally upload on Sunday because I will be out of commission for the next few days because Too Tall Dad is coming to visit. So when you guys see this video, he will have just left. So, hi Dad! He watches all my videos and then tells me why the roofs would leak. But yeah, so I'm like in like a weird headspace, and even though like I'm not leaving the house today and I have like all of these like chores and things that have to be done, I was like, we're doing a face cam, let's put on an entire face of makeup. So you're welcome for that. I don't know, I was feeling the dark lips today. I guess anyway, so as you can see, I'm like working on a bunch of like the landscaping and such, and I wanted this to look as like overrun and abandoned as possible. And when we get to the interior, I know I'll be talking about the sad story. I feel like maybe if I like tell it in the form of like a scary story, I can hold back my tears better. Because I promise you, I'm going to link the song up in one of those corners, and then I will also put it in my description. Because I'm not kidding, it's really sweet, very melodic. There's a lot of like really sad violin that goes on, and the story in the song is quite possibly the saddest story I've ever heard. I'm already gonna like get really emotional about it. Yeah, so, you know, I had started with just like a simple box and then decided that I wanted to give it like a slight Victorian look to it, and I think that sort of helps with like the creepiness level. There's something about Victorian houses. I had watched like the history of the house that they use for the Addams Family, and I can't remember, it was a really long time ago that I watched it, but they said like it's something about like a bygone era, so things that are older tend to give us the creeps more, especially because it was such like a fast time, especially where I live. Like the Victorian housing era did not last long in the United States, so those houses like they put up quick and then the time disappeared. So like when we see those houses, they tend to give us the creeps a little bit more because we don't associate that with our past as much. And then the same thing with the ocean. I watched another show. I actually shout out to Beth. Hi Beth! Beth Lissemer, if you've never watched her, you should watch her. She's amazing. She does like an entire like Disney Princess Apartment series that I love. I watch every single one. Um, but I was telling her about this show called Myths and Monsters that's on Netflix. And they sort of like talk about like the background of how the folklore and these like stories come apart. And there was like one whole episode about the wild, and there's a bunch of, you know, folk tales and legends that stem from the ocean, because the ocean is such like a deep and mysterious place. Like, as much as we think we know about the ocean, we really don't. Like, there's still so many mysteries, and so that's why it like inspires so many like creepy, crazy things like the Kraken and, you know, deep sea monsters, the Loch Ness monster, because, you know, we don't know anything about it, so we can invent all of these crazy things to explain what we don't know. So actually, both of my creepy builds that I have for this month are ocean inspired. So we have the lighthouse for this one, and then I'm not going to tell you about the next one because it's going to be really awesome. If you have not already subscribed to me, you should, because that one's going to be amazing. I went nuts with like the story for that one. It's going to be really cool. And as you can see, I struggled so much with trying to place these stairs within the octagonal part of the lighthouse, because like we can't do round stairs, and if I tried to like make a room around it to delete the middle part of the floor, like the roof cut in, I was struggling. And then like you can't place a fence underneath a staircase even though the staircase didn't have walls. So I struggled, and then I tried to do something fancy with this door. I tried, and then I just end up not doing any of this. I thought this was a really cool idea, and I feel like it could have worked if I played with it more, but I just started getting really frustrated, and I was like, this is not what I'm going for. So I ended up just using an arch and then 2 doors to make it look like it was like creaked open. I don't know. Like it had just been left like that. And then we just have a little bit more to work on with the exterior, working on the layout and stuff before I start working on the interior. I've got to like prepare myself. Oh god, it's here. Okay. We're gonna do this. Okay. This is the sad story. I'm gonna tell it like a scary story that inspired this build. The song is called The Lighthouse Tale by Nickel Creek. So, this is the story of a lighthouse, worn by the weather and the waves, and it keeps its lamp lit to warn the sailors on their way. Actual line from the song. We're gonna move away from that now. But, so this is it's a love story involving a lighthouse. This lighthouse had a keeper. The keeper helped him warn the ships at sea. And the lighthouse cared so much for his keeper that the keeper's joy meant everything to the lighthouse. Now this keeper was to marry. He had a beautiful woman who shone with beauty and light, much like a lighthouse. And they were going to be married, but the woman had to leave for a while. And so, standing on the edge of the lighthouse, the keeper watched as her ship leave. But then a storm rolled in, and it was a raging, thunderous storm. And the keeper watched helpless from the lighthouse as her ship crashed against the rocks. The next morning, after the storm cleared, the keeper went down to the shore and found her body and buried her in the sand. The keeper swore that they would be together soon, and he climbed to the top of the lighthouse and ran off. But the lighthouse keeps its lamp lit to continue to help sailors, even though it is now empty. I'm like on the verge. Okay. Just imagine that with like the violins, like the violin and like the really sweet melodic voice. It's the saddest story. Okay, we can do this. So, moving from that, my idea, I'm like legit trying not to cry here. Okay, so my idea from there was that this lighthouse had been completely forgotten after the passing of its keeper and his bride. And nobody understood why nobody would take over the possession of this lighthouse. There was just something about it. And you'll see I do like an homage to that a little bit later when we get upstairs to the bedroom. But I had a lot of fun working with the plants and everything. Like, this was a lot of fun. So this was like 5 hours of footage, just so much footage, and like I sped through most of the exterior stuff because, like I said, that was like staging, and really this is the important part. And I wanted to still decorate it as if it had been a happy home at one point in time, which it was, because they were to be married and they loved each other very much. And so most of the things that they had in the home were still here, and they've just been like taken back over by nature, but the lighthouse keeps its lamp lit. I don't know how to like get myself out of that mood, you know, when you're like almost about to cry. You know, the solution is normally just to let it happen, but we can't do that in a face cam. We can't do that. So yeah, like I said, this is a lot of fun. I use a lot of tool to like knock things over and like make everything crooked, and like a lot of sizing. And I love throwing down a rug and then just like piling all of like the water stains on top from Strangerville. My absolute favorite, so that it looks like disgusting. And I do use that in my next build video. You should be excited for that one. That one will also come with a cast video. So like the Sunday after this one, I will do the build video, and then that Wednesday I'll release like a quick cast video, because you guys know I'm not particularly good at cast. I was also extremely proud of how that little dresser, it's not a dresser, that side table with the decoration from Perfect Patio, so that it looked like it was where they kept all of like their wood and everything. I'm extremely proud of all of the interior of this one. Like, the exterior is like, okay, it's like an old rundown lighthouse against the cliffs. It's cool. But the interior, I went nuts. Absolutely nuts. I loved it. I thought it turned out really good. So like, I know not a lot about lighthouses, so I had to like not necessarily do research, but just based off of like movies and stuff that I've watched. And unfortunately, the one movie that I've watched about Lighthouse, I would not recommend. Absolutely not recommend it. It was the worst movie I've ever seen. Terrible. But let me explain a little bit about it before I tell you about that movie. So with lighthouses, I did imagine the bedroom does not have any windows or anything, because you always have at least 2 people working on a lighthouse at the same time. You have one person who does most of like the chores and stuff throughout the day, and then one person at night who mans the lantern. So if you have the person who is sleeping, has to sleep during the day because they man the lantern, they would need a dark room. And then vice versa, if you have the person who does the chores during the day and they have to sleep at night, there's a light going, it's a lighthouse, so there's no windows in the bedroom. And then I made sure that there was like a big desk area, so that they have to like keep records every day of what happens if anything happens. And yeah, so their desk, it's like all cluttered and stuff, and I don't know. And I made sure to put like lots of homey touches. So there's like, you know, bookcases and a gardening area and places to do laundry. So all of these things that would have made it a happy home for the couple that we're not going to talk about again. So while I was building this, I was telling my husband that the song had inspired me, and he's like, no, I keep thinking about that movie. That movie. So I had taken a film class. It was like film terms. It was just some stupid class that I needed. I don't know. But I did learn a lot. And we watched this movie called The Lighthouse, specifically to look at like the lighting techniques. And for lighting techniques, it was perfect because the entire film is in black and white, even though it had been made recently. It's got Robert Pattinson and William Dafoe in it. And the lighting is gorgeous. And the techniques that they use to create some of the moods with lighting is fantastic. But the story itself was terrible. It's about two men who have to go man this lighthouse. It's their turn to go man the lighthouse, and they just go crazy. And that seems like it would be really cool, but it is not. It is not. There's so many parts of that movie that were not PG-13. I mean, like, I've watched, obviously, I watch a lot of crazy movies, but this was like not PG-13 in a way that you don't expect. And it was gross. Just violently gross. And I don't mean like blood and gore and things like that. It was gross for other reasons. It was no. And I know that because I've said something about it that you're gonna go watch it, and I'm warning you. Do not go watch that movie. It is awful. Awful. Anyways, so we are now working on the upstairs, and I, clutter up the bathroom, more plants and everything. I am sure that there is no part of this house that is usable whatsoever. Your sim can get to it, but I didn't even bother playtesting it because I didn't imagine that somebody would want to live here. Maybe that would be like a fun thing. If you are interested, you should download this and renovate it, but still leave it haunted. I think that would be really fun. But so here's my little homage to the happy home, the hauntedness. This room is the only room that is untouched by time. So it's still set up with the two paintings of the lovers. It's still, the bed is still made. There's no plants, there's no cobwebs, there's nothing. It's just a nice little room where these lovers had lived. And on the shelf underneath their paintings is a single rose still alive. Spooky. I don't know. I had a lot of fun with that, so I thought that was a pretty cool touch, maybe. You'll have to let me know. Let me know down in the comments if you enjoy that idea, or if I've made you cry at any point in time, or if I've made you want to go watch a really terrible movie. Just all of those things. So from here, all I'm working on is just hair in my face. I don't know. I do this to myself. Like, I know I don't like hair touching my face, and I do this to myself for you. I don't know. 20 minutes is a long time to talk and like know what you're talking about the entire time. Normally I'm like, cut it off. Music will go from here. But it's fine. Okay, so inside the lighthouse, we are working on like the storage areas, and obviously you're here for a long period of time. You probably can't get supplies in very often, so I imagine that the interior parts of the lighthouse itself is where they keep most of like their supplies. So there's tons of like crates and baskets and like that galvanized pail that I used twice, and I also included some like fishing equipment and stuff because I imagine that it's a quick way to go get fresh foods. It's just, let's go fishing. And I like vary it up throughout the floors because there's 3 floors of this. As I said, I wanted to make this lighthouse as statuesque as possible so that it like stood out against like the cliffs. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this build. I had a lot of fun coming up with the idea for this build, and I know that a lot of you really enjoyed the pictures that I shared on Twitter. So as always, if you don't follow me yet, you should follow me on Twitter because I do sneaky peekies all the time. Yeah. And so we are at that point of the video. We are almost to the screenshots. So I will just say, if you have liked this video, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up to let me know that you liked it. If you have anything to say about the general awkwardness and goofiness and ridiculous story, make sure to comment down below. And as always, I've got more content coming. So if you have not subscribed yet, maybe you should. Maybe you should. Try me out. Take me for a test drive. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day. Like the best day ever. 1 out of a billion. The score is obviously a billion because it's the best day ever. And if you are not having the best day, hit me up, let me know, and I will do something to make you smile. And as always, I love you and I cannot wait to see you again. Bye!